All right, now let's implement the logic behind these two buttons here. It's very easy. So here in our product cart component, we already have a method for adding a product to our shopping cart. When the user clicks this add to cart button, now we can simply reuse this method and call it when the user clicks this plus button. Everything should work, right? So let's try it. So back to our template. Here is our plus button. I'm going to handle the click event here. So click and call add to cart and give it this product object. Now let's test the application up to this point. So currently I have 1 spinach in my cart. Click the plus button. Now I have 2, one more time, 3. Perfect, this is working beautifully. Now, while building this feature, I realized that our add to cart method doesn't really need a product parameter, because here we can directly access this product field in our class. So we can simply type this.product here and then get rid of this parameter. So you can see this makes the signature of this method simpler, and this is more of the object-oriented way of doing things. In the old days before object-oriented programming, when procedural programming was popular, we used to pass a lot of parameters around, and that was a really bad approach. So in your code, try to use your objects, your classes, instead of passing parameters between various functions. So now let's go to our template. We have 2 references to add to cart method. I'm going to modify them both and remove the product parameter. So add to cart without any arguments. Beautiful. All right, now let's handle the click event of the minus button. So click, and I want to bind this to a method like remove from cart that also doesn't take any arguments. Now let's go ahead and implement this method. So back to our component, remove from cart. See the API of this component? It's very nice and clean. We have add to cart and remove from cart. There is symmetry here. So here, similarly, I'm going to call this .cart service.remove from cart and give it this product object. Like currently, we don't have this method in our service, so let's go ahead and implement it. Back to our shopping cart service. Here's our add to cart method. I'm going to add remove from cart. Takes a product object like this. Now the implementation is very similar to what we have here. The only difference is in the calculation of the quantity. So instead of adding 1 to the quantity, we want to remove 1 from it. So I'm going to copy all this code here. Now we have a compilation error because we are awaiting the result of get or create cart ID method. So we need to make this method async as well. Okay, the compilation error is gone. Now let's modify this expression. So we simply change plus to minus. Now we can see these 2 methods are almost identical. So we can refactor this method by extracting this common logic into a separate private method. So I'm going to define async, actually private async, because I don't want this method to be called from the outside. Update item quantity. So it takes a product and another parameter which determines whether we should increment or decrement the quantity. Now, there are different ways to implement this. One simple way is to add a parameter like change of type number. Then we can call this method and set change to +1 or -1. So now I'm going to cut all this code from here, move it into this new method, and change 1 to change. Okay. And then in add to cart method, we simply call this.update item quantity, give it this product object, and pass 1 as the change. Now, similarly, I'm going to refactor this method and call this the update item quantity, give it the product, and remove one from the quantity. That's much better. Now you might ask why I'm not awaiting the result here. We certainly can, but we don't need the result of this method. If this method returned some value that we were interested in, then yes, we would have to await it, otherwise we would get a promise. But in this case, we don't want anything from this method. We're simply calling it, so we don't need to await it. Now let's test the application. So currently I have 3 spinach in my cart. Remove, now I have 2, remove again, I have 1, remove again. Now we have the original add to cart button. If we click this, then we can change the quantity like this. Beautiful. Now we only have a tiny issue here. Look at the pointer of the mouse. Here we should have a hand, so this button looks clickable. I believe the reason we don't have the default pointer here is because we have put this button in the footer of the card. So somewhere in Bootstrap, you probably have a style that changes the mouse pointer for buttons in card footers. To fix this, let's go to the CSS file for our product card component. So product card.css. So I'm going to add a new rule. If we have a button in our footer, I want the cursor to be pointer. Now, back in the browser. So you can see our buttons now look clickable. Beautiful. So now that we can successfully add products to a shopping cart, I want to display the number of products in our shopping cart here on the navigation bar. And that's the topic for the next lecture.